All right, it looks like we're live. It's Thursday afternoon. Joey and Jason live training. Best day of the week. Joey, how you feeling this week, buddy?
But man, I love Thursdays. Thursdays, we just get to
Yeah.
break it down and get tactical,
Yeah.
um, and get to work, and then see the fruits of our labor pay off. So I love Thursdays, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm actually calling from Denver today, so I'm in a beautiful place. Really enjoying the west side of the country this week, and just pumped to talk about lead sources. This is something that you and I think, have been doing for a long time, but like putting these things together has really helped me at least to like clarify exactly where our leads are coming in, exactly where our clients' leads are coming in, and how to like make good changes. And I know we both do that, but I think today is going to get really nice and tactical so that other people can hopefully, get some fresh nuggets out of it.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating to, start a month off and you're like, hey man, where's all my leads at? And this is a good opportunity to like not have such a blanketed statement and to kind of dissect, well, where are they supposed to come from? And
Sure.
am I doing that thing? Right. So that's what I love. And when we started doing this exercise and kind of like what we're going to be going through today, it just provides so much more clarity and confidence in how you're going to finish up a month.
Yeah, and full disclosure, both Joey and I, we try not to hammer you guys with a bunch of KPIs and stats that you have to track, but there are certain things, and today is one of them, where knowing the details of each of your streams and knowing what's going on in your business, that's like taking the pulse of your business every day and understanding your vital signs. So, disclosure, there's going to be some talk about keeping track of those KPIs, but for the record, I was just telling Joey, I'm working on a really nice, clean little 6 lead source evaluation tool that I'm going to drop in the comments of this video after the post. So let's dive in. Maybe you give us a quick walkthrough of the main lead sources that we recommend for the clients of FitBiz, and we start from there.
100%. So, and we'll be digging into each one of them, but Facebook advertising, right? So whether you are using lead ads or you're sending people to your group, either way, you're paying for that. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between a lead ad and a conversion ad, since some of the people on the call haven't quite ran both and understand the pros and cons. So that's a big one. The next one we'll talk about, or at some point, member referrals, right? So these are from the member marketing course. You're running challenges or events. A lot of you guys are going to be running the Olympics coming up soon. And a goal of that event is to get spectators, right? And those spectators at some point will be like, wow, this is really cool. I can't believe they do this stuff at this gym. Like, it's amazing. And you're like, yeah, but you've collected their contact information. You're going to reach out to them on Monday, and that's a lead. That's a lead. Now, whether or not they become a client, that's down the funnel a little bit, but it's a lead, right? So those are referrals from members. Another one is going to be your Facebook group is part of the paid acquisition website, right? Website and SEO. So everybody has a website, but are you getting appointments from it every single month, right? And if so, how many? And is there anything you can do to get more appointments from that website? Then we have signage, right? So signage, do you have a sign out front? Does it have a call to action? Do people just drive past it and say, man, I always wish I knew what that place was, because it's just inconspicuous, right? Or do you say, Transformation Center, stop in now for your free 7-day trial? They'll be like, okay, I know what this business is trying to say, right? And then the next one would be broadcast, right? So broadcast using UpLaunch. These are lists of information or people that you paid for at some point in time. Are you doing anything with those, right? And if so, what should you be doing? And then the final one is referrals from your staff. Like, is it a condition of their job, right? Do they bring people in on a regular basis? This is different than, referrals from events, right? Events, you just put up posters, you blast all over. An operations manager, right, is probably more responsible for those referrals than the actual trainers are, because it's part of the organization that is getting +1s, and maybe you're doing a raffle or whatever it may be. But what about the day-to-day trainers that are training clients, right? And do their clients have, family or friends or whatever that would also like to train with them? And is that something that they're doing on a regular basis, having those conversations? So between those 6 different pipelines, You shouldn't, if you're doing each one of them, you shouldn't have a problem with getting as many people in front of you as you'd like to grow your business. Now, they could be not good leads. They could be, those are different problems. But in this video, we're addressing like getting those appointments in front of you, so then you can prescribe your program and get yourself new clients.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the everybody on this call, I guarantee you, has some form of a minimum of 3 or 4 of those, right? Like everybody's got a sign, I hope. Everybody's got a website, I hope. Everybody's running some sort of paid ads, and everybody that we've worked with has either run a reactivation campaign or does some sort of broadcast. Whether or not you're running a free group yet, whether or not you're doing conversion ads or lead ads, the one thing I would say is, if you're painting with a brush with 4 different colors at once, you're never going to know exactly what's going to come out. And so that's where a conversation like this, it's really good to get once in a while, whether it's once a month or once a quarter, to really get hyper tactical on, okay, how is my website traffic? Am I coming up number 1 on Google? How is my signage? Am I getting walk-ins all the time? And without that information, I see it all the time where somebody will reach out and say, lead flow really sucks. All right, cool. So let's talk about that. What does that mean? Well, we used to get more leads and now we get less. And it's like, all right, great. Well, how do we make a decision based on more and then less? And so by having that granularity, even just a little bit, and not even that often, just once a month, once a quarter, I think that we can really dig in. So the first one you said, I believe, was the paid ads. So why don't we dive in there? Give me just a brief overview of like our current strategy on paid acquisition ads.
Yeah, 100%. So you guys know this as like Facebook ads, right? Now you can obviously pay other platforms, but right now Facebook is performing the best as far as here's my money, get me some leads. Okay. So what we're recommending is driving the traffic to either a Facebook group, or we want the person to fill out a lead form. Okay. So you get images, right, of you working out, and we'll talk about what images work best. And then you write copy. Now, if you're working with Fuzz Media, they're probably doing a lot of the heavy lifting for that. If you're doing it yourself, then you are familiar with writing copy and creating an ad, right? And you get this ad, and usually this ad has an offer. In our case, we would advertise a free 7-day transformation program trial, right? The flip case is if you are having somebody join your group. Obviously, you're not going to give a free 7-day trial to everybody that's joining your group. A lot of them are not interested in that yet. They need to know you, like you, before they commit to coming in the gym. So in that case, you're going to be advertising a free 21-day at-home challenge, right? Both of them are lead anchors, right? Because ultimately, you want them on long-term, high-ticket programs. These are what is getting them to show up to that program. So we're running both style of ads, and I think Fuzz would recommend that you do that as well, because why not activate 2 separate pipelines instead of just one? And the people that are interested in the at-home will opt into that, and the people that are interested right off the bat at coming to your gym will opt into that. So what's the difference? Well, getting people into your group is going to be cheaper, period. There's no commitment, right? Or very minimal. It's a very micro commitment. Join a Facebook group. And if you don't like it, leave the Facebook group. And so the idea for that stream is they get into your Facebook group. And once they are in there, that's when you over deliver. You give them content, you give them value, you give them things for free. You show them your gym, you show them how you work out, the energy, all of that stuff. And occasionally, once every other month, you're going to ask them, who's ready? Raise your hand to make a transformation. And the cool thing about this is it's very authentic, right? They are asking you to do your program. You're not cold calling them. You're just giving them value, and then you'll ask them to raise their hand periodically. Or they'll get into your group and you start a conversation with them right off the bat immediately, which we made a video in this group, Perfect Gym Model group, last week on how to get that conversation going through text message, right? And that's the second way that we would use this Facebook group is as soon as they join the group, you say, hey, is this Susie? Thank you for joining my group, insert your group name. I'm Jake, I'm one of the coaches here. And I just wanted to appreciate everything that you're doing or joining our group. And if you don't mind me asking, like, what are your goals? That way I can tag you in the appropriate videos. And then Susie's going to start talking about her goals to you, right? And now we've started that conversation. And hopefully it leads to, hey, come into the gym, right? So we're running ads to get those people, because if you just post it on your wall, I got this free group, that's called launching your free group. And you'll probably get up to about 100 people, maybe more, depending on your following, that will join your free group. But you want to keep growing that sucker, right? It's a revenue stream. So you have to run ads to grow that group. The cool thing is, as you grow that group, it becomes this asset of people in your community that keeps on growing bigger and bigger, that are absorbing your content, right? But you only paid to acquire them one time, right? Now you have their eyeballs for a very long time, or until they leave your group. So that's one way. The other way is lead ads. With lead ads, you are going to run your messaging saying, hey, I have a gym here. We do transformation programs. This is what you can expect to do. And that's where you'll put like unlimited workouts, private coaching. You're going directly at people that are looking right now to change their life. The group is more so like, they don't really know, but they don't mind joining the group to find out. So that's why it's cheap. There's a smaller market for the people that are ready right now, which is why it's more expensive, because it costs Facebook a little bit more money to find those right people. But once you do, they will enter their first name, their last name, their phone number, and their email, and then schedule an appointment, right? And then they'll come in, and then you'll talk with them and close them, right? And so that's a different kind of a lead, but it's going to cost you more. Why do we do both? Because you can easily get a return on either investment. The mechanics of them are a little bit different, right? You just have to understand, what is your cost per appointment, right? What is your cost per show? And once you kind of break those numbers down, you'll feel like, or you'll see that both of them are great to run at the same time. And the numbers break down a little bit different, but at the end of the day, you should be making money off of both of them. Now, the final thing I'll say about this before we move to the next one is, well, what's the difference between a conversion ad and a lead ad? Not much. But the thing is that with a lead ad, they see your ad copy, but they never go to a funnel, right? They see your ad copy, and then Facebook has native forms that they can fill out, right? So what we're finding after running ads, and I believe, Sam and Fuzz would agree with this, because I've ran these lead ads for the past 2 months now, religiously. And what I'm finding is that the cost to get the name of the person and the phone number and the email and all of that stuff, which is integrated into UpLaunch. So to build my list, right, the cost is less than running a conversion ad where they would go to a funnel. The thing is that less people are scheduling because they don't have to, right? They fill out the form. Once they fill out the form, we can try to redirect them to our funnel, or they can click on the link in your copy that might take them right to the funnel. But either way, they're not forced to schedule. Whereas when you send them to a funnel, right, if they want to take advantage of your free 7-day trial or whatever, they would fill out their name, phone number, email, and then immediately get taken to the next page with a scheduler that auto-populates their information, right? And so the schedule rate's much higher on a funnel. But the problem is that you get less people doing that because it's not native to Facebook, and Facebook's not optimizing it as much, right? So a good rule of thumb here is to always understand what your cost per sit-down appointment is, because you can get confused with some of the numbers that come before that when they don't actually matter, right? All that really matters is what is the cost for somebody to get in front of you so you can have that conversation, right? And so if you want to dig deeper into that, like we can easily make a video for the perfect gym model on how that works and play around with some numbers. But I've been talking to some gym owners recently about ads, and some of them are experiencing the same thing that I am with lower scheduling rates. But what you need to look at is the cost, but the leads are so much cheaper that the cost of them actually showing up in front of you is ultimately the same, but you're just playing the game a little bit differently. Or there's things that you can tweak, right? So like as an example, with paid ads, you could deal with poor quality leads, which is unlike the rest of these pipelines. The other pipelines are so organic that you typically don't have to deal with a poor quality lead, right? But with ads, you might have to. So that's when you need to take a look at the messaging, right? Maybe your messaging is not good, right? Because what happens if somebody really does want to change their life, if they're truly honestly ready to do it, and you are a great option, Why would they not schedule an appointment to meet with you? Why would they not respond to any of the text messages that are going out to them from Uplaunch? Why would they not do any of that? Right? They're probably not that serious. You could try to blame it on a lot of other reasons, but they're just, at the end of the day, it's not that important to them. If you are making an appointment for yourself for something that's really important and you can't wait to make that change in your life, whether it's buying a house or going to the doctor to get an ultrasound done, any of these things, if it's really important in your life, you're going to make an appointment, and then you're going to show up for that appointment because you're genuinely excited to do that thing, right? So if that's not happening for your leads, they're not genuinely excited to change the life, right? So your messaging might be off, right? You might be attracting people through a mechanism that attracts people that are not that serious. So what I have to do at my gym is I have to only advertise in a 5-mile radius, and I need to show people working out at my gym and changing their lives and hard work and sweating and laughing. Because if I try to show anything else, like food images or things like that, it's not going to attract the serious people. Now, will my cost go up? Yes, but I understand that, and that's a trade-off that I need to make. Right. And so that's the final thing I'll say is if you're dealing with poor quality leads, you need to take a look at your targeting. So who are you targeting in your area? Right. And what are you saying to them? Are you detracting, from quality leads, and are you encouraging non-quality leads? Maybe you should have a qualification page. Right. And they fill out basic questions. Are you willing to invest in making yourself better? If their answer is no, do not proceed to the scheduling page. Right? And then you will never have to deal with people no-showing you. However, you're going to have to be okay with getting less leads because that's just how marketing and advertising works. So I know we spent a lot of time on that paid area, but typically that's where the most questions come around. So I feel like we elaborated pretty deep on it.
I think you did. Yeah, that was great. So to kind of try and recap all that, with paid ads, there's really two types, right? There's direct pay call to action, which is kind of a lightning strike. We're going to get those folks very quickly. Speed to cash is going to be higher. Lead quality may be a little less. They're not going to yet know, like, and trust you, right? Which is why we also have this great option of the free Facebook group, which is where we're almost creating our own organic leads, right? Like we're putting into that group, then they're going to get exposure to us. They're going to learn to know, like, and trust us. And we're going to be able to have access to more people, but it's going to be a little bit longer speed to cash, right? And so the nice combination that you kind of alluded to would be to have a little bit of both going on at the same time. So you kind of always have a steady stream of lightning strike paid ads, but you're also supporting that by identifying and sort of growing your own ideal client. The three things I always tell people that we lean on heavily at FitBiz are obviously brick and mortar first, high ticket first, but organic first, and if possible, organic only, right? Like if you get to that point, that'd be great.
Yes.
So that was awesome. I think that was a really great rundown of paid ads through Facebook. Obviously, Fuzz Marketing has been a great partner for us that has a ton of, kind of the cutting edge stuff to keep us in the loop. So even as you watch this video, there may be new and interesting things that we're doing into the future.
Yeah, and you can do all this stuff yourself too, right? It just gets to a point where it doesn't make sense to spend your time doing it. Right. There's more important things for the entrepreneur to do. So we partner with Fuzz because they will take all that time off of your, like, dude, if you want to do it right, you should spend at least 10 hours creating ads and another 5 hours optimizing them every week. Right. And so that's 15 hours. Now you can easily spend that time doing it and you'll probably be okay. It's not that hard to do. Right. And we don't hire or partner with Fuzz because there's some magic thing that they know that no one else does, right? They are saving a massive amount of time from entrepreneurs so you can do other things with your time, right? And that's you don't have to go out and find that person yourself. I mean, you don't have to go out and hire somebody to do your marketing for you. But I do think you should steal that time back if you're able to.
100%, and they get the ability of seeing multiple accounts in multiple areas, and they're iterating just so much faster. Even guys like me and you are really not able to keep up when that's all they're really focused on.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about. You want to just cut through signage? I know that's one that people like. Uh, so talk to me about signage. I know a lot of folks have revamped theirs since joining the program and are seeing a great result from having a clear call to action. But maybe just a quick rundown on your thoughts on signage.
Yeah, man. Signage is old school. So I mean, before the internet, the majority of traffic for businesses came from their sign out front, right? And that's just the name of the game. And so it is not by any means a dead pipeline, but it does there's a lot of noise going on and people aren't as focused on what the signs you're not going to get your branding out like you think you are, right? I thought 9 years ago, man, if I put this sign out front, like people are going to see it and they're going to come. They don't know what the hell we do. Before we had a call to action or explaining like who we are and what we do, they're like, yeah, Body by Design. Like I always thought that was like a chiropractic place. I'm like, because you can't see in, you know what I mean? You don't know. And so,
yeah, it could be like a body shop. Who knows, right? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and so like you think like the only ones that people probably get it are CrossFits, like they get that. But like, some of the gyms, especially, that we work with, like your names are not like, they're not as descriptive as you think they are when you're talking to like the general public. So how do you leverage a sign to actually be worthwhile? Well, you have to have first a descriptor, right, of your business. So if it's fit to the max, right, fit to the max, right, you would be surprised at how many people drive past and they're not, it doesn't click for them, like exactly that it's a, so underneath it, you would want to say, my gym says Transformation Center, right? Now, would it be more clear if I said gym? Probably. But when I come in, I want to differentiate myself from a gym. I can't do that if it says gym on the sign, right? And so I can't say, but we're not just a gym. And they're like, dude, it says gym on your sign, right? So like I say Transformation Center, right? But then they kind of get what that is, or at least they're inquisitive. So you might want to say like fitness facility or, health, healthy living center or whatever speaks to you.
Body Transformation Center, could be anything, right?
Exactly. A descriptor underneath your logo, right? But then the most important part of your sign is the call to action, right? And I saw who just made a nice big one. Jeff did. Jeff with North Corner Studio. So like the way he did it was a big red banner that he hung up, interchangeable, right? That said, home of the free 7-day transformation program trial. That way, if it ever changes, and mine is very similar. Mine's like a plastic board that didn't cost much, so I can pop it out and pop a new one back on if I want. But the point is, people drive past and like, oh, cool, because it says home of the free 7-day transformation program, which or trial, which makes it seem like you invented this thing. And it says, stop in now to claim yours, or stop in now for more details, or whatever you want, but you have to have that call to action. What do you want them to do, right? Call this number? No, don't do that anymore. People are not like getting their number, like they're just not doing that. Like signs in the olden times, like they would write down those numbers because there's no other way of getting, they can't jump on your website or anything like that. But even putting your website's ineffective because people are not going to remember it. It's not like fitness.com, right? Your website's going to be something long that they're not going to remember, right? So you have to tell them like, hey, stop in now. And there's nothing better than to get a walk-in or whatever, pull over, or make time. And so that's how you use a sign. And the cool thing is that it's evergreen. And once you do it, it's set it and forget it, right? Once it's up there, you no longer have to focus your energy or attention on it at all, right? And it just produces. So even if it takes a year, like it's almost a guaranteed ROI if you put it up there.
Yeah, I think for me, like, it's funny because I'm guilty of ignoring the signage, I think, for years in favor of all these sexier paid advertising strategies and marketing and referrals, which are great. But there's a couple of key nuggets that I really have taken away just having these conversations, both before and then after the clients have implemented these changes. And number one is so obvious, but people that drive by your sign often drive by you often, which means you're convenient for them. And so like, if you can get somebody's attention who's driving past you every single day to work, like that's number one. We pay or we could pay tons of money just trying to winnow in on who is going to be organically right near my business, right? We can do that in the targeting we do in Facebook. There's a bunch of little techniques we try to use for that. But this is like old school. This person walks by me every single day. This person drives by me every single day. Number one is that, like, just having signage there. And then number two, I call that like the jerk the wheel factor, like having something that's going to make me jerk the wheel, having something where, okay, I drive by every day. Oh, it's not a body shop, it's a gym. Okay, that's cool. I drive by again, I drive by again, I drive by again. If I drive by and see free consultation, I'm not stopping. Everybody knows that's just coming in to sit down for a sales appointment, right? But if I drive by and I see something of value that I can walk in and get for free 7-day transformation trial, like that might actually make me jerk the wheel. Or there may be a case for, once in a while running some sort of a promotion that isn't evergreen, where it's literally like spring into summer, transformation package sale or whatever. Like I just totally botched that, but you know what I mean? Coming off.
Dude, you could say like lose 5 pounds for free.
Right.
Or do you know what I mean? Like
anything that makes them jerk the wheel, right? Like anything.
Get away with stuff that you can't advertise on Facebook. And really, like, it's a 7-day transformation program trial. And if they don't lose 5 pounds, like, do you think your business is good enough to still keep them? It should be, right? Did they still get an amazing experience? Did they still all of the stuff? And they're not going to continue because they lost 4.2 pounds. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, take your average of like what results clients get and use that as switch it out and see if that, like, 5 pounds for free, like, holy shit, but they're going to come in, they're going to take your classes, they're going to meet with you, they're going to go through nutrition, everything that you would fulfill on a 7-day transformation program trial, right? And you're just betting on your fulfillment. So that just a way to change it up, like Jason was saying.
Yeah, 100%. I think that at the end of the day, like, it is valuable to have. And like you said, it's evergreen. Once it's up there, it's up there. And you don't have to pay extra for it. So if you pay $200, $500, $1,000 for some lit up sign or something, do you think maybe you might get 2 walk-ins a month that are going to pay you thousands of dollars over the course of compounding months? Like, absolutely. So it's funny how valuable that is. Even you and I are a little surprised at how valuable the signage stuff is.
Especially with elderly too. Yeah. Like a lot of the times they'll be, how'd you hear of us? Oh, I drive past your sign. I'm like, you probably are never on Facebook. You know what I mean? Right. So it's a great way to reach that sector of the market that is not in front of you any other way.
And we have quite a few people that do very well with that demographic as well. So let's talk about the website. So obviously having a good website is good, but then there's also SEO as well. So maybe break it down for us a little bit about your thoughts on the website.
Yeah, it's like your digital sign, it is explaining who you are and what you do. But then, is that sign front and center in the middle of the traffic, or is it tucked away somewhere where no one can read it? Right. And that's kind of the same thing as your website and SEO. And the school of thought and what's effective has changed a lot since websites were originally, being built. Back in the day when you'd have a website designed by somebody, it would almost be like your portfolio, right? It'd be navigatable. It'd be like our team, our mission, our location, our facilities, contact us, all of these FAQs, like all these tabs that you could click on and read everything about it, missing a call to action. Almost like there was no reason for that. Maybe you had a form to fill out like as contact us, but it wasn't effective at telling that person exactly what you want them to do and don't go anywhere else. Just do this thing, right? Which is really what we need a website for. So the way that we build them now is you could still have a menu, and I'd argue like no more than probably 6 items on the menu, but some of the most effective websites are just one page. And when you click that button on top, it just navigates to that part of the page. So they can't go anywhere else, right? Because think about it. If you have 7 different pages, well, now you have to have your call to action on every single one of those pages, because if they navigate to see my team, if there's not a call to action, they're not hitting the back button. Do you know what I mean? Like there's been enough research and Hotjar type stuff of tracking, what people are actually doing on a website that they're not going back to the home, like they're leaving, right? And so what we're teaching now, which is in the course, is to make a single page website and to make your call to action, front and center, exactly what you want them to do. And then below that, you can put some information about your team and your mission and all of that stuff. But don't get caught into the trap of, trying to explain your entire story on your website, because they don't care and they just want to know how you can help them. Right. And
I just want to jump in there because you just kind of hit a good point. The story is the right idea, but it's not your story that they care about. There's actually, like, when we build sites, at least when my site was built, and I know your site's this way too, it's almost like I'm telling their story as they go through it. But I couldn't agree more. Top of the thing there should be one call to action and one thing that they can do to take advantage of it. I think a lot of times I'll see a great website, but there's 3 different things you can do. Click here for personal training. Click here to ask us questions. Click here to find directions. Click here for frequently asked questions. And it's like one thing. And we'll figure it out, but one thing.
And then as soon as you have that website done like that, integrate it with your UpLaunch, right? That way you always have these leads front and center. Like, will it integrate with other programs? Probably. But the last thing you want is to not have them in an automated sequence that's reaching out to them, because they could schedule an appointment and then cancel it. But what if you don't, what if they all of a sudden disappear from your schedule and you don't have a way of reconnecting with them, right? You lost that lead. Whereas if you connect it with your UpLaunch, they're always in that journey, that incoming journey of website inquiry, right? Which we teach you exactly how to integrate. It's very, very simple. And they're always in there. You can reach out to them at any point in time. You can broadcast to them. So that's how an ideal website will be built. And you can do it very cheap, super cheap nowadays. So that's the first part of website. The second part is none of that matters if no one sees your website, right? And that's SEO, search engine optimization, right? So when somebody types on Google, hey, personal training in my area, or weight loss gyms in my area, or whatever you think the keywords are. Now, if you hire an SEO person, which I show you how to do from Fiverr in the course, they can actually search for what the keywords actually are. You can guess, right? But they'll search and say, well, hey, dude, in your area, the top 20 keywords for fitness, for what it looks like you do, are these keywords. So we're going to optimize your website for these keywords, right? So once that's done, when somebody searches on Google for whatever services you're offering, you pop up first, right? And that's how you're getting your website in front of everybody, because people are not navigating to the second, third, fourth page of Google, right? And if there's 10 gyms in your town and 9 of them are doing SEO, where do you think you're going to be? At the very bottom, right? But if you are doing SEO the best, which really there's not even a best way to do it, it's just consistently, right? Because the algorithms are constantly changing through Google and backlinks and all this stuff. You just have to be on top of it and just refresh and check every few months to make sure you're still ranked high. You need to get people to your website, because again, a gorgeous website that nobody sees. And if you think that they're getting to your website from other places that is not Google, you're wrong. They're not, right? It's all Google. So that's what I would say about that. And if you want to learn more about SEO and search engine optimization, I'd link it to Fiverr. At this point, guys, like when I first started my website, SEO was so freaking expensive that I learned it. I learned how to do backlinks and how to do all of that stuff, keywords, meta tags, all of that. Now it is so freaking cheap that it does not make sense for you to learn that thing, right? You can only learn so many things. It doesn't make sense for you to learn it. You can contract it out to a third party over in, Pakistan, and they are going to, for $200, give you SEO that would take you a year to learn how to do, because you're just next in line for them, and they're just going to run you through the algorithm, and they know what they're doing.
Couple of quick follow-ups on that. Number one, I recommend every single month, just go on an incognito tab, which is super easy to do. Just go File, New Incognito window, and Google yourself. Whatever the ideal keywords are, there should be 3 or 4, maybe 5 that you can think of: fitness near me, personal training near me, CrossFit near me, whatever. But do that every single month, because SEO is not a snap in time, right? It has to be ongoing. And so I would recommend checking that every month. Number 2, you really, and you just kind of alluded to this, you really probably, for our types of business, a brick and mortar facility, we're not selling, huge volume, competing with Peloton or something like that. You probably don't need $1,000 a month SEO in order to beat out the local brick and mortar gyms. I mean, we have clients that are beating out Planet Fitness. I was on one the other day. They're beating out Planet Fitness, and it's just an individual location. And
Yeah.
Planet Fitness does pay a monthly amount. So, I think, I don't know if, how often do you recommend that somebody, I guess if you're doing it every month to check on it, do it when you need to. But in general, how often do you pay somebody to do your SEO?
We do it every 3 months, and it's like $200.
Yeah.
Right. So when you break that down over a month, it's less than $100. It's 80 bucks a month. But you're gonna get more. You're gonna get more than one extra lead by doing it by far. And if you're out there looking at services, and it is like more than $1,000, if it's really expensive like that, it's not for you. That's for e-commerce, right? That's for people selling t-shirts.
Right.
You know how freaking competitive that is, like buying t-shirts nationally, right?
Yeah.
You don't need that, right? And an SEO guy may try to sell you on it, but you don't need to spend that kind of money.
And then the nugget that I really took away, and it kind of segues into the next thing we'll talk about, is having the up launch. Up launch is great, but what it really is a business system behind all of the other lead systems that is going to acquire and work on those leads when you're asleep, right? Probably not during the day, but and so having your website linking directly to UpLaunch is huge. And then let's talk a little bit about how we can use UpLaunch to work the leads that we already own, that big mountain of asset that we've already paid for in one way or another.
So that's the next source is broadcasting. So like if you guys are following the lead tree, there's a lot of people going into UpLaunch from these different, like if you're running lead ads, if you're running to your Facebook group, right? If you're running what we just talked about, SEO in your website, right? Like all of these leads end up in UpLaunch, right? But not all of them have scheduled right off the bat, right? And not all of them have done really anything, so how do you reconnect with them? Well, that's the cool thing about the broadcast, right? And we start you off on a broadcast. We start you off on the reactivation campaign. It's a drip campaign that broadcasts, and all broadcast means is you're saying something to everybody. You're not sending a private text message. You're sending it to everybody, right? And we start you off on the one we call the reactivation campaign, emails and text messages. But you can do those whenever you want, right? Whenever something is coming up, whenever you have a push. In fact, we'll get into member marketing probably next, but we again designed broadcasts for you because it goes so well with what we're promoting for that time period. Right. But you can do that whenever you want because you own those leads. You paid for them. Right. And of course, they can unsubscribe. And it's very simple for them to unsubscribe if they don't want your messaging. Right. But you will get a return. Every single time you send out a broadcast, you will get some kind of return. Now, whether it's a high return or a low return, depends on the quality of lead and what your message says. And we try to guide you into having sent so many messages, we kind of know what's going to get a good response and what messages are not going to get a good response, so don't send them. And that's a lot of what's in our course or what's pre-done for you. And in fact, the reason that we pre-done them, Jason wrote a bunch of them, I wrote a bunch of them, like we have sent ones that didn't work, right? And we have sent ones that worked really freaking well. Which ones do you guys think you have? Right. And so that's why I'd argue don't change too much of it because you might end up with one that doesn't work very well. And then having to pay for the same cost of failure that we already paid for. Right. So the point is that you can easily click on broadcast, click on text message or email and send whatever you want to your leads. And you can filter between active clients and leads. Right. So if you're doing some crazy promotion, don't send it to your clients or vice versa. And I would argue that between sending out an initial push, right, which is going to be like the reactivation, and then the campaigns that are already built in when that lead enters the journey. So like if they enter like website inquiry, right, there's already messages that they're going to be receiving. Right. And that's after the fact that they scheduled it didn't schedule. Like that is such a powerful tool. Right. And then, of course, if you want to do a big push at the end of the month or whatever it may be, you have that ability to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think if there's anything that we're talking about today that I think is just truly undervalued, it's this. Because I wrote an article about this not that long ago. not everybody, and some people on this call have 100 leads. Some people on this call have under 500 leads. And I understand, and for whatever it's worth, as we've discussed, you connect all of your lead sources to that broadcast center, and you grow it. But for guys like me and you, or for guys like a lot of our clients, 3, 4, 5,000, 10,000 leads, whatever it might be, when you get to that threshold, you genuinely can be running reactivation campaigns or promos to leads nonstop 52 weeks a year. And so I do talk about that in the article, but just as like a very easy example, I only have so many appointments on my calendar. And so I can't drop 5,000 leads in a given day or week, because it's just going to blow out my calendar, and there's not going to be anywhere to put them. And so what can you do? Well, let's say you had 1,000 leads. You could divide that across a quarter, 3 months, and you drop them weekly, whatever that number would end up being. You drop those weekly and work those leads. And then by the time you get to the end of that list, you've added to the list, but now you would just start it over again. And you could run that same thing quarterly, maybe with a slightly new tweak to that campaign, and genuinely be picking up some percentage of those assets for many years to come. I know you and I both have 10,000 plus leads. I probably could either not, or at least run very little in paid advertising and still be growing just from that. Does that make sense? And I think
it would take a very long time to get to the point of diminishing returns. I think,
yeah, exactly.
Well, I remember different life cycles. Some people are not ready to make a change the first, second, third, fourth time that you message them in these different campaigns, but then all of a sudden their kids go to college and they finally have time for themselves, and then your fifth message goes out to them and they are ready, and they'll take action on it. And you don't know what's going on in everybody's life, especially if you have 10,000 leads.
And how many things, literally just do this exercise. Go to your email, anybody, go to your email and just look at the marketing emails you received today. I went to Seal Fit, which is a CrossFit gym in San Diego, 8 years ago. And I still get once a month, I get an email from them, and it's not rude and it's not in my face, but literally it's on top of mind. Every time it comes through, I'm like, man, those guys know what they're doing, and how many different articles of clothing or food types or restaurants or whatever have you gone to that you got on their list, God knows how, 3 years ago, and they're still reaching out to you just periodically with hey, remember us? We're still here and we're doing great. This is the new thing we're doing. And I think it's probably the most undervalued thing that we're talking about today, where people don't really realize they bought an asset in the form of those leads, and they're just sitting there waiting to be marketed to. And you could probably, with a large enough list, just hire one ops person or a VA to just work those leads, and develop a positive ROI over time, for sure.
Yep. And if you guys are wondering, it's part of why we recommend UpLaunch is because we have built out campaigns for all of your leads. It's called inactive leads, right? So after the 21 days of them being an active lead, where we're hitting them hard with emails and text messaging, after that 21-day period, they go into what's called an inactive lead, where we do reach out to them over years, right? With exactly like Jason said, nothing offensive, just how to get healthy, the 8 tips for, building your core muscles, stuff just to keep it top of mind. Of course, each one of them has their call to action on the bottom, but that's nothing that you have to do. It's already built out for you, which is a big part of why we recommend this platform, because it's amazing. It's specific to brick and mortar business gyms, micro gyms, about health and fitness, and it's all written beautifully, and you don't have to do any of it, right? So like Jason said, don't sleep on this, because it is absolutely worth it.
Yeah, how many, I think not even how many, almost all of the people that have joined our program have more than paid for the program just from that reactivation campaign. And that's one time through. It's absurd, the amount of value. So you mentioned the member marketing stuff. I know we've got the 12-month calendar in the group, and we've been seeing tons of testimonial shots and posts of gyms that have been running these events. So maybe we spend a little bit of time talking about that now.
Yeah, and this is one that snowballs too, because the events start off small, the challenges start off small, but they end up growing so much. So when you've been through phase 3, the member marketing is the first lesson, you'll see the 12 different events, and we break down each one of those events or challenge that are designed to bring in referrals, leads, right? If you're doing a challenge, typically what you'll see when you read the overview is the challenge is probably something like $199, but if they bring a non-member friend, they can share the cost, right? So they each pay $99 or whatever, right? But the likelihood of that person staying is so unbelievably high that even if you lost money on the acquisition, which you don't because they're giving you money, they're going to sign on for a long-term program. So those are leads, right? Don't they're paying to be a lead. That's great, So if you can do that, let's say you get 5+1s, and we're being very conservative. Let's say you get 5 non-members to partake in your next 30-day detox, right? Which is what comes after the Winter Olympics. 5 non-member friends, because your members are doing it and they want to split the cost, right? What if you did that every single month, right? How many members would that be by the end of the year? What's your churn rate? How many of them are actually going to stay? So it's very high when you take a look at it, because 5 over 12 is 60. That's 60 brand new members. What's your average lifetime value of a member, even a year value of a member? $1,000, probably higher, right? So do the math. It makes a lot of sense. So what's the thing that can derail this? Not being consistent, doing it once and be like, yeah, I only got 5 new members from that. Okay, but you're supposed to do it every single month. Right? And then 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? And then sometimes when you run these gigantic events, right, you get even more, right? Like if we do like the breast cancer boot camp, which is a huge one in October, which a lot of you guys are going to start doing. You know how many people come to that? Because it's a good cause, and it's a boot camp followed by a raffle where they can win all these prizes. You know how many members we get from that? Holy shit. Yeah, a lot, 20 at a crack, and of course you can't do that every month because people are going to they're not going to live at your gym, but you clean up on it and you have these go-to. So member marketing is huge because your members are bringing in the +1s. Your members are bringing all of those in. If we find that we're struggling to fill up an event from our members, we might hit a broadcast. We might start off by hitting it with our old members. We won't touch the leads yet, but we'll hit our old members up and be like, hey guys, we have this amazing event coming up. It's whatever event it is. If you want, you can come to it for free. Right? It's typically only for members, because for me, I'd rather have a packed event. But I'm going to give my members the first dibs, right? Of course. So all of these events that we run, there's 12 of them, six events and 6 challenges. They're all a lot of fun. And if you stay consistent, like the Olympics, right? So what are we doing for Olympics? A lot of people are doing it this year, which is exciting to see. But your goal is to give your members something that's going to build the culture and be a ton of fun. But you want them to bring spectators. If you ever seen the CrossFit Games, it's packed with spectators, way more spectators than athletes. So can you pull a version of that off at your gym? Probably, right? It takes a little bit of work. One thing that we started doing is in the course, we say we charge $20 for athletes and $10 for spectators. But now what we're doing is we're donating all the proceeds to Special Olympics, right? What did that do? It got us way more people to participate, and in fact, this year we put a little twist on it. And guys, this is for you to optimize and make it better and then share with the group. But we, everybody, every spectator and every athlete, we gave them a raffle ticket to write their name on and drop it in a jar when they come, right? At the end of the event, we're going to pull one name out. We're giving them a TV. Why? Because TVs are super cheap and everybody loves them, right? And so that's just a way for us to pack the house. And normally we don't do that, but it's post-COVID and people are a little bit worried about going places. So we want to pack the house. But you know how many people we're going to get that are spectators? A lot of them, and what I mean by a lot is probably like 15. But for me, that's a lot. That's a lot of fun to have like 15 non-members checking the place out. And guess what? And it's in the course. They're all going to sign in on an exercise waiver, even if they're not an athlete. Like, dude, you're on my premises. I got kettlebells laying on the floor and all that. I don't want you tripping or, you know what I mean? Like, I just first name, last name, phone, email, but Jake is going to reach out to every single one of them on Monday, right? Every one of them. In fact, it's automated because when they fill that out, it goes right into UpLaunch and it's an event referral, right? And so they get reached out. Hey, how did you like the event? By the way, just asking quick, like, what are your fitness goals? Are you where you want to be? Right? Out of 15, we're going to get 5 of them, right? We just are, because they've already been, they're not a lead from Facebook. They've been to my gym. They see exactly what we do. And they probably have goals from that event that they didn't even know they had. I wonder how long I could hang on that bar for. That hip thrusting looked pretty cool. I wonder how much I could do. Right. And so these are predetermined events that we've given you, but you just have to do them. Same thing with the challenges. Like, how amazing is it to do a 30-day detox before summer? Completely low commitment, so low commitment, right? They join a Facebook group, they get a nutrition plan, and they get to follow with their friends. They get a coach, right? Coach Eric is going to be their coach through this 30 days. They get one specialized workout / workshop. Like, it's the lowest commitment ever, but they're going to fall in love with your gym, right? And then you keep them. So what is the only thing that derails member marketing? Consistency. It takes work. You know, you got to do it every month, you know, and we all have shit going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So what the three things that I love. So first of all, there's like the A goal, which is for events to get some new folks in, for challenges to give your current clients an opportunity to raise revenue. But then there's like these B goals that I see all the time. Like, number one, consistently running these events is conditioning your clients and also their friends that they're bringing to these things that, hey, this is a place where we're not just going to pay a membership and show up and go home. It's consistently conditioning them, like, there's going to be a thing every month that you can opt into. And maybe we shoot for, every third month somebody's into that thing, right? And I know we've talked about 10% in each event would be a good target. But what we're doing, though, is we're conditioning that person. Hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do this, and then I'm also going to pick 3, 4, 5 events every single year that I'm going to do. Like, that's huge. And then, the other one was
the challenges.
Just by doing this, the other two things are, number one, it's built-in retention. You're giving your clients a thing that's not just the day-to-day humdrum. It's a thing to do. And so now they're working on their goals to improve their Winter Olympics before the Summer Olympics and things like that. And then thirdly, when you are rolling out these high ticket programs, like we're helping you to do in this program, you now give them an opportunity in these challenges to have some version of ascended service. And so they get used to having a custom coach. They get used to having a meal plan. They get used to having those things. And so if you're one of those gyms that has not always done that, or has a lot of your population that doesn't do that, I'm looking at, Billy and Brandy, who've got, these open gym type models with some personal training. That's a great opportunity to take those open gym folks that are paying you $49 a month and put them in, a 30, 60 or 90-day thing where they're going to have somebody they can point to call a coach. And you're showing them, hey, this is what it's like to have a high ticket service where somebody's actually going to be following up with you and helping you to work towards your goals. And then that's going to help convert them as well. Absolutely could not be a bigger believer in events. And then the last thing I wanted to add, I love the raffles. We've done a bunch of those. Donna and I, with our party planning committee, will actually use it as a cross-branding opportunity. So we'll reach out to the nail salon, the barber shop, the CBD store, and all those kind of tangential local businesses that we know. And they will almost always donate something, whether it's a free service or some little tiny item, and then we'll raffle that off. And now we're also getting engagement with the local community. So they bring people. Our average booth that we'll set up for one of our events, typically we charge now for the booths, but those people will bring their friends and family to the event. So we'll get like 5 or 6 more people to show up to that event just because the local eyebrow studio is having a table and they wanted their friends and family to come with them, And so that's another great way, if you have the bandwidth, is to reach out to the other local businesses, either from within the community or just locally in general. And they're going to be tweeting from it. So you're going to get that cross promotion on social media as well. I could talk about that a lot more, but I think that kind of covers the bases of that. Did we cover all 6 of our lead sources?
The last one, which we'll cover quick, is staff referrals, right? Yeah. So just making it a condition of your staff to be consistently bringing people in. Now, we have it on the scoreboard. As you guys know, we follow the scoreboard. It's in phase 3. And one of the columns is the trainer task, right? And so a task for our coaches is almost every month is to bring in 2 referrals. Not even bring in 2 referrals. We're having 2 consultations, right? And so if they're consistently sitting down and talking to 2 non-members every single month about what we do, that's all I want, right? Now, if they are not closing them, that's an opportunity for me to have a meeting about selling and sales and conviction and, charge what you're worth and all that. But if they're not even giving themselves 2 at-bats right? Then that's not, they don't want to help us succeed in the mission as much as they say they do, right? Because they would, and of course you would give them a lot of methods on how to do this, which is in our course, how to actually bring leads in. But it needs to be a condition of your business, and you need to track it, right? What gets measured can get improved. If you're not tracking it, it's going to be really hard to, hey, did anybody bring in leads? Like, you should already know that answer. And so that is a big part of how we, and it's, for us, it is the number one source of new business for us, because I have a big staff, right? We have 10 trainers and an ops manager and a sales manager. And so if each one, and I hold all of them to the same standard, right? And so if each one of them is having 2 conversations, you can see how it becomes the biggest thing for us. But they all, like, it's part of the interview process. It's part of the onboarding process. It's part of the training process. It's part of everything. It's conditioned into how we do business. Is you're always introducing new people to what we do here to help us accomplish the mission.
Yeah, and it's your responsibility to train and condition these folks to understand this is how you coach a 1-hour class or a 1-hour session. This is what I need you to do every day. That'll lead to your week. That'll lead to your month. That'll lead to your quarter and your year, et cetera. But I think it's one thing for you to say, hey, Coach Tom, I want you to go out and get referrals. Great. Maybe Coach Tom right away is going to be jazzed up. He's going to go get a referral. It's a whole nother thing to condition those folks that this is just what we do. Every single time we're in front of clients, we're looking for opportunities to look for referrals. Hey, Sally, you're cool. I like working with you. Do you know, I bet your friends would be cool and would benefit from working with me as well. I mean, like, it really is just as simple as, like, look, you have to realize your staff, they're busy people. If you don't put it right in front of them, keep it top of mind, every coaching class, every hour, every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, then of course they're not going to consistently deliver the results that you guys get at your gym. And that's the thing, like, from an outsider who's been exposed to your gym a few times and is very familiar with your systems, like, that's the brilliance of it, is these guys don't have to think about it because it's so ingrained into the culture of what you do. Well, that took work, and it took a system of training and of checks and balances and then of tracking into the future. So definitely worth the effort to get that.
Yeah, and watch the course, guys, to give them some tips on how they can do it. You have to show them how they can bring people in, or else they're just going to struggle, even if they have the best intentions. It'll be things like posting on their own Facebook wall, posting in the Facebook group. It'll be constantly encouraging their members to come to all of your events and bring their family and friend, inviting them for a workout session to do together. Like, there's so many ways. Running specialty classes. One of our trainers, Ryan, he promoted a class on Facebook. He called it like his booty buster or something like that. And he got six girls to do it, right? And he gave them a discount, $199 for the 30 days for 6 of them. They all renewed this week for a total of $6,000, $1,000 each, right? They paid to do this booty buster for the next, I think it was 6 months or something like that, right? So they each paid $1,000 and they have it for 6 months, right? But he brought all of those in. Like, the gym had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with that. I mean, he physically brought in 6 brand new members, high ticket, without anybody. Why? Well, he got commission on all that. He got a bonus. He might make trainer of the month. Like, there's a reason why they want to do this, right? And that's what phase 3 is all about.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, all of these lead sources are just so worth your time. There's nothing that we ask any of our other gym owners to do that we haven't already done ourselves, that we don't continue to try to improve, because it's making us money. That's, I mean, maybe the bottom line of this whole thing is every single thing, as we're talking through this, I could see where somebody's like, man, that takes work. Man, that takes effort. You're damn right it does. That's what business is. But it's making us money every single month, and it's making us a lot more than the time we're spending. Otherwise, we would never recommend that you do it. And so hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. Any final thoughts, Joey, before we hop?
No, I mean, I think it's a great one. Guys, if you want to rewatch this, we're going to drop this in the extra live replay vault so you can rewatch it, because we do go through quick things. And you've probably already seen a version of this in the training, but there might be some little nuggets that, we said that click for you. And if you're like, man, I wish I could do all of this all the time, that's the point of scaling and delegating. So you do have time to just focus on this stuff. right? Because you could be responsible for all 6 of these pipelines, but it's very hard to be responsible for all 6 if you're doing all the training, all the cleaning, all the admin, all the sales. If you're doing all of that stuff, it's really hard to do this, which is why we scale and we delegate some of the lower value tasks to employees.
And look forward to, I'm going to drop it in its own post later on today, probably, that the form to kind of analyze your different leads, your different lead sources, so that you have a much more actionable way to make good decisions as the owner. All right,
Thanks
guys.
for tuning in, guys.
See you next week.
See you next week.